Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rainey, and today I am going to do something I haven't done in a really long time. I am going to do a tag video. I was tagged by Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading for the Shakespeare Journey Tag. I almost said the Shaketube Journey Tag because that's what Shaketember used to be called, a Shaketube. um, so anyway, Kelly tagged me in their original tag, the Shakespeare Journey Tag, and I knew that I had to do it. I wanted to do it right away, but then I got strep throat or something to that effect. So I could not do it. So I am just doing it now. So I'm a little late to the party, but I knew I had to do it. It'll be fun. So let's just get right into it. I have all of the questions in my little Hobonichi planner, so I don't forget them. Okay, so number one, what was your first experience reading Shakespeare and what was it like? I think like most teenagers in the US, my first experience with Shakespeare was Romeo and Juliet in high school. And, like everybody else, we watched the old Romeo and Juliet movie with the nudity that the teachers had to try to cover up. um, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. I was not one of those kids who did not enjoy, reading classics and reading Shakespeare. I loved it. I've loved English and, the old classics ever since high school. So, and I especially loved plays. So I really, that's probably where I kind of discovered my if not love, of Shakespeare at the time. Question two, has the reading of a Shakespeare play ever brought you to tears? And if so, what scene? And yeah, I am just going to stop that question because no, I have never cried while reading a Shakespeare play. I very rarely cry while reading anything. Now, seeing things is a different story. So I have cried during the Leonardo DiCaprio, Claire Danes, Romeo and Juliet, obviously during the death scenes. um, I'm sure I have cried at other plays and movies, but probably most notably in Romeo and Juliet at the end. But yeah, not while reading them. I think for me, Shakespeare is, even though I love Shakespeare, I find it hard enough to read that I am concentrating too much to really get emotionally invested in the reading of it. But that being said, I don't really cry at a lot of books, even if it's an easy contemporary book. It's depends on my mood, I guess, but I'm not a big book crier. Are there any people that played a significant role in your Shakespeare journey? Oh my goodness, yes. My high school English teachers, um, my junior high English teacher that put me in my first ever play. I don't know that I ever participated in a Shakespeare play with him directing, but just him putting me in my first play ever was just, it just started my love of the theater, really. And then another high school drama slash English teacher in my later years put me in my first my first Shakespeare show, and that was Midsummer Night's Dream. I played Hippolyta, so it was a small role, but I think I had like a couple other little small roles in it too, but I just remember playing Hippolyta, the queen, the Amazon queen, which is silly because I'm very short and in no way, shape, or form resemble an Amazon princess. And then in college, I was in both on stage and backstage. I was in quite a few Shakespeare plays, and I took a few Shakespeare classes. So my professor was the chair of the English and drama department at my college, and he was very, very influential, I would think, or I would say, in my love of Shakespeare. And then after college, my local theater troupe that I wasn't participating in it at the time, but when it started up, I went to see their first show, which was The Tempest, and it just blew me out of the water, so to speak. I mean, it's The Tempest, it blew me out of the water. And I knew I had to become a part of that. So the directors for that theater troupe have really helped me to develop my love of Shakespeare throughout the years. And, I've done quite a few shows with them at this point, and it's always, well, almost always a good time. Sometimes in 90-some degree heat in a leather jacket in the park during a Shakespeare show, not really enjoyable. But on the whole, they're a very enjoyable company to work for. Question 4. Do you have a favorite book or film about Shakespeare? Well, no, not necessarily. I know that Kelly and I buddy read Women of Will a couple years ago for Shaketember, and I mean, we enjoyed the experience of bashing that book, but it's not an enjoyable book to read. But recently, I saw a play called Word of Will or Words of Will. I should have looked it up. I can't remember exactly the title, but I think it's Word of Will, at my local theater company, not the Shakespeare Company, but another one. But it involved the directors of the Shakespeare Company that I work with. They were a couple of the lead characters, and it is all about the making of the first folio of Shakespeare's after he dies. His fellow troupe members and friends and things are trying to collect all of his works, and it just kind of goes into what was involved in that and the problems that go on or went on back then with basically like copyright and things. There really was no copyright. So it was just really, really interesting. I don't know how much of it was factual, but it seemed like the playwright did some research, definitely into at least the customs of the time, and how much trouble that would have been to collect all of the plays that Shakespeare wrote. So it was really interesting, and I highly recommend it if anybody is doing that play in your area. That one did make me cry. Question 5. Which character in Shakespeare most resembles you, and in what ways? This is very tough. Yeah, you should tell me what character in Shakespeare you think most resembles me. I'm going to leave that up to you. But actually, I could probably think of one that at least at one point in my life did resemble me. And, and that is Helena from A Midsummer Night's Dream. Helena, poor girl, is besotted with a man who does not love her, and she is just very, very upset about it, and kind of obsessed with him. And I would not say that I am like that now, but in high school I was, and in some respects college, I had a couple of experiences where I was involved in unrequited love, one-sided on my end. So, yeah, I would say at some point in my life, Helena was very much the character that resembled me. Now, I would like to say Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing, because she is witty and I like her a lot. But I don't I don't know if if that is a true statement or if I'm just trying to be cooler than I am. I don't know. But yeah, definitely, unfortunately, Helena at one point in my life. Question 6. Which play would you most like to see performed in a theater and why? Well, I have been able to see and actually be in performances of a lot of Shakespeare's plays. So I can't really say that there's one that I can think of that I haven't seen performed. I really enjoy watching the more fanciful ones. Those are just my favorite plays to begin with. But I just love to see how directors interpret the more fanciful elements on stage, like the Tempest. I've seen that now twice by the same company, but in two completely different settings, and both were excellent. A Midsummer Night's Dream, I've been in two versions of that show, and I've seen online the Royal Shakespeare Company's version, I think recent version of A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was really interesting as well. I just think that the comedies and the more fanciful comedies really lend themselves to a lot of creativity on the part of the directors and the different theater companies. And I really enjoy seeing what everybody's interpretation of those plays are. Question 7. What actor throughout history would you most like to have seen play Hamlet and why? Well, this one is kind of going to be a wah-wah for me. Hamlet is not my favorite play. I mean, it's definitely an epic play, and definitely one that I feel like every Shakespeare person should see. But it's not one that I gravitate towards, I suppose. So I've seen Kenneth Branagh play him, and I think that's good enough for me. I don't know. I'm not a big like actor person where I can think of actors throughout history that just really impressed me and that I want to see in certain roles. I just that's not something that I'm really into. So I've seen a couple of good versions of Hamlet, and I would. It's funny because I would probably prefer to tell you the local actors that I know and that I'm like friends with that I would like to see play Hamlet and I have not seen yet. But you don't know those people, so I can't, that wouldn't be interesting. So, but I am just thinking in my head right now of a couple of people that I would love to see play Hamlet. My local theater company has not yet done Hamlet. I'm hoping that that's coming up because there are quite a few men in my town that I would really like to see play Hamlet. They would all play it extremely differently, and I think that'd be awesome. Question 8, I'm actually going to drop to the end of this tag because it is to deliver your favorite speech or soliloquy from a Shakespeare play. And my favorite Shakespeare play speech is by Helena from A Midsummer Night's Dream. We already talked about Helena and how much I'm like her, or was like her at one point. So yeah, she's my favorite speech in Shakespeare, I think. And I've actually done it for a couple of auditions before. So, but that was a long, long time ago. So I'm going to have to familiarize myself with it a little bit before I read it to you. And there will be no memorization because I can't do it that quickly. Okay, question 9. Do any of the Shakespeare plays intimidate you? If yes, what play and why? Yes, I would say pretty much all of the history plays intimidate me because don't know enough of like the actual history of that time period to know like what is far-fetched and what is kind of in line with the actual history. Also, Titus Andronicus intimidates me because I hear it's like really gory and gross, and I'm just not into that. So I have not yet read that one because I don't need that in my life. But I know I have to at some point, or I don't have to. I can do whatever I want. But it's a play that I should at least read. I will not watch a movie version of that. No, no. But yeah, I would say the histories intimidate me, even though I've read a few of them. They just maybe because I'm not drawn to them. They just and I don't really understand the history and kind of like how he messed with it to really understand too much of it. 10 is a good one. What tips would you give to intimidated readers coming to Shakespeare for the first time? Well, when I was co-hosting Shaketember, I would always tell people actually watch a version. Whether you watch it before you actually read the play or after, I would actually say to watch a version before you read the play. Unless, of course, you're going to be in a play, then you kind of don't have a choice. But I would say to try to find a version, either like an audio version or an actual version that you can visualize what's happening, because the language is very difficult. I can't sit here and be like, oh yeah, it's easy. You just have to get used to it. It's fine. No, it's hard. So it's not how we speak nowadays, not even close. So I would say that you really need to visualize it and hear someone who does understand it, um, say the lines and even maybe see it acted out, because then you will just have a better understanding of what's going on. So then when you go back to actually read the text, you can be like, oh, yeah, okay, I can see where that was happening at this point. I get it. So yeah, that would be my biggest tip, is to actually watch it or listen to it before you read it. Honestly, before, I would say. Number 11, what is your favorite Shakespeare play and why? Well, we've already talked about it a couple of times. My favorite Shakespeare play is A Midsummer Night's Dream. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was my first Shakespeare play that I was in high school. I did another version of it in Shakespeare in the Park when I was an adult, and that was really enjoyable. And I think I just have a lot of good memories attached to it. A lot of like people that really do know Shakespeare, they, are going to tell you that it's not very good or or something like that. But I disagree. I think it is very good. I think it is very imaginative. I would have loved to have seen it performed back in Shakespeare's day. I think I just would love to have seen how they did that in his world. And I just love the fancifulness of it. So yeah, that is my all-time favorite Shakespeare play. I just gravitate towards the comedies, I'll be honest. So, but okay. So, oh, and then the last question was to tag people, which I'm not going to do because Kelly tagged a whole heck of a lot of people that I probably would have tagged anyway. So, but if you're watching this and you haven't done the tag and you would like to, because you're like, hey, I kind of like Shakespeare, I think that would be fun to do, feel free. I would love to see it. And I will link everybody else's, or all the hosts of Shaketember down below so that you can watch their tags. And yeah, now I'm going to pause this and find my Helena speech from A Midsummer Night's Dream, and hopefully come back on here and not embarrass myself. Okay? All right. See you in a couple seconds. Okay, hi, I'm back. I am going to be holding up my giant Shakespeare book to do this, but we are going to be reading from Act 1, Scene 1 of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Helena is in the woods all by herself, and she is very sad. How happy some or others some can be. Through Athens I am thought as fair as she. But what of that? Demetrius thinks not so. He will not know what all but he do know. And as he errs, doting on Hermia's eyes, so I admiring of his qualities, things base and vile, holding no quantity, love can transpose to form and dignity. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind, nor hath love's mind of any judgment taste, wings and no eyes, figure unheedy haste, and therefore is love said to be a child, because in choice he is so oft beguiled. As waggish boys in games theirselves forswear, so the boy love is perjured everywhere. For ere Demetrius looked on Hermia's eyne, he hailed down oaths that he was only mine. And when this hail some heat from Hermia felt, so he dissolved, and showers of oaths did melt. I will go tell him of fair Hermia's flight. Then to the wood will he tomorrow night pursue her. And for this intelligence, if I have thanks, it is a dear expense. But herein mean I to enrich my pain, to have his sight thither and back again. So there you go. That's my favorite scene from A Midsummer Night's Dream.